Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. We're going to get started in a few minutes. Just going to wait for our board members to arrive. Thank you for being here. Hello, everyone. If you just joined, we're just waiting for a few more board members to arrive so that we have quorum and can start our meeting. Thank you for being here. I believe we're just waiting for one more board member. Thank you for your patience. Hi, Francis. Nice to see you. Okay, we're still one short for quorum, but for the sake of time, we'll just go ahead and get started. First of all, I just wanted to thank everyone for all of the shifts that we've made over the month to get here to today's meeting. I know the community board staff did a lot to help organize that through the hurricane and various conflicts. So I appreciate you all being here today. So welcome to the September 22nd, 2021 meeting of CB11's Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee. My name is Jessica Elliott and I'm the chair of the committee. The meeting is called to order at 6:38 p.m. Tonight we are joined by Assistant District Manager Carly Wine, the staff liaison to our committee, who is amazing. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. 1, no one may speak until granted the floor. 2, CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. The chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to this discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait through Zoom and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, you can unmute yourselves and answer present when your name is called.
Collier.
Here.
Elliott.
Present.
Giordano. Yoon. Johnson. Lee. Mastroda.
Present.
McCullough. Pena. Quinones. Rodriguez.
Present.
Schuler.
Present.
Wiltshire Clement.
Present.
Wright.
Present.
Okay, we're still one short of quorum.
Do we have quorum if Malik was excused? I know he had a.
No,
Okay.
it does, yeah. You have to have, there's 14 members, we need to have 8 present.
Got it.
So you can't adopt anything, but if you want to move to informational updates, you're able to do that.
Okay, yeah, we'll go to informational updates and announcements, and in an effort to obtain quorum, we'll do roll call after those events. So just one quick message before we get to this announcement. Tab here. I wanted to welcome our new Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee members, Ivy Hume, Alonzo Johnson, Shirley Pena, Natasha Rodriguez, and Jordan Wright. So thank you so much for being here and being a part of the board and this committee. We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And our second announcement is just that curbside composting is back in fall 2021. DSNY will collect food scraps, food soiled paper, and yard waste and turn it into compost or renewable energy. This free service is voluntary and residents must sign up online or through 311. For informational updates, I first wanted to start, we've done a lot over the summer, and I just wanted to bring attention to some of the things that we've done and accomplished together as a committee. Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee held 2 parks tours over the summer, one on June 26th, focused on the southern half of the district, and one on July 31st, focused on the northern half of the district, visiting as many parks in the neighborhood as possible, which we visited over 25 parks. So thank you for everyone coming out to that, and we look forward to doing it again next summer. Some of the learnings from those visits were that East Harlem has a good amount of great parks and playgrounds, and small improvements could go a long way. How can we make our existing parks more resilient? There's a lot of pavement and concrete, and there's opportunities to green those spaces, especially with climate resiliency. There are a few parks and facilities undergoing renovation and have been recently renovated, and they look great. I'm sure Parks will give us an update on that. Some of our parks and open spaces suffer from sanitation issues of sanitation, heat, quality of life, and access issues. It was great to see those parks in person and be able to make informed decisions together. And we look forward to continuing to being active in our parks. Thank you to Stacy Pappas and the Coalition for the East Harlem Waterfront. Thanks to Stacy's suggestion, we were able to collaborate with New York City Parks on an application for the National Park Service's Land and Water Conservation Fund Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program grant. The grant is a federal nationwide program enabling urban communities to create new outdoor recreation spaces, reinvigorate existing parks, and form connections between people in the outdoors and economically underserved communities. Huge thanks to ALDA and NYC Parks for working with us on this. The grant, if funded, would provide $4.9 million in funding for amenities in the new entry plaza area at the Manhattan Greenway Harlem River Park, including pathways, lighting, seating, landscaping, and a comfort station, an important aspect of an important park project. The application received letters of support from Manhattan Borough President Brewer, Council Member Ayala, Assembly Member Rodriguez, Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin, Senator Serrano, and Councilmember Espiat. So thank you to Carly Wine for assisting New York City Parks on this initiative and helping to gather those letters of support. And thank you to everyone who supported it. The naming process for Richard Toussaint Way is moving forward with the help of NYC Parks. We're excited for this progress and also look forward to the future naming of Richard Toussaint Park. Sanitation garage discussions are ongoing with an upcoming CAG in October, and a discussion coming up during this month's executive meeting on September 29th regarding the M10 garage. So I invite all of the committee members here to attend executive if you can, to be a part of that discussion. Thanks to our Statement of District Needs and Budget team, Isabel and the Manhattan Borough President's Office are looking into our sanitation equity issues, and there's opportunity to collaborate with schools and youth and education. So hopefully David joins the call so we can discuss that a little bit and connect you with Isabel. And then Environment, Open Space and Parks had district consultation meetings with Department of Parks and Recreation and DSNY. We talked about health equity and resilience, equity and funding across districts, street cleaning, trash pickup and vacant lots, street tree planting and maintenance, and the funding and allocation of East River Esplanade improvements. So we have a couple metrics from that, but I'm sure New York City Parks, if you just want to touch on that, or I can when you give your informational update, that would be great. All right, we'll move on to Randall's, or unless anyone has any questions about any of that. Thank you to Carly for all the hard work this summer. I don't see any hands raised. So I will go to Randall's Island Park Alliance.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you. I hope everyone had a wonderful summer. It's good to see everyone again. Just real quick, we had a really busy summer out on that. Oh, I want to mention Deb Marr, our president, is actually on. I think she may not be on the panelist, but she wanted to know that she is on as well for this. We had a really busy summer. Like everyone, a lot of people in the parks. One thing I did want to mention with Tropical Storm Ida, we did take some damage in the park. Part of our pathway on the Wards Island waterfront, we had water runoff from the rain that knocked out some of the riprap on the side and took a section of pathway basically into the water. If you're down there, it's by Hellgate Phase 3 by Field 63. It's completely barricaded off. You can't get through to it, to over where that area is, but it was unfortunate. We're working with Parks Capital Engineering to look at it, as well as some other engineering to see what options we might have to kind of work around that pathway area and what needs to be done to kind of restore that waterfront area. That said, September's been busy. We did have Electric Zoo again for the first time since COVID started. It went really well. We have another event this weekend. It's a vegan food festival. I think this is the 4th time we've done it. That'll be on Saturday, and we have a 5K, 10K run with NYC Runs on Sunday. Those are kind of our events. And then we have just the RIPA hosted events. The really big one we have coming up is our Harvest Festival, which we're not able to do last year, which is a free community event from 12 to 3 on October 2nd. There'll be music, games, pumpkin painting, all that kind of stuff. It's down on Ward's Island by Field 62 and 63. It's a great event. We're really excited to be able to bring that back again. Additionally, just this weekend, we have a lot of stuff going on. There's the Jesse Owens Track and Field Program, which is by registration for children. We do it at Tom Jeff Park in partnership with City Parks Foundation. That's Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We have a bike tour going around our salt marsh, which is also, you can register on our website. That's this Saturday. We have a open farm volunteer day on the Saturday. So if anybody wants to come out and volunteer at the urban farm, it's an open farm invitation for people to come explore it out at the island. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. All this is on our website as usual. We have a salt marsh tour as well on Saturday. So we were really excited. Fall is a great time to come out and explore the park. So that's pretty much what I have. Winter athletic field permits just opened up. So if anybody's interested in a field in the winter, we only have the turf fields. Grass fields get closed starting December 1st. But if people are interested in any of the soccer fields that are turf, you can apply for a permit starting, I believe it was like the 15th. So if there's any questions from anyone.
Thank you so much, David.
We're also excited to have Drive Shack here to be able to present for the Golf Center. It's been a long time, lots of delays, COVID and things. So we're really excited to have them come and present. Hopefully we can get that facility so people can use it again.
Yeah, this is Deb, and I just second that. I'm really excited to see the presentation. I just also want to thank Dave and all the staff for really working tremendously hard through a really long but great summer season. And we're looking forward to the fall, and we're very happy we're there today looking the kids out playing athletics again for schools are back. So it's a really nice feeling at the park. So love to have everybody back out.
Thank you so much to both of you. I don't see any questions from the board or the public, but thank you for being here, and we look forward to the presentation. We'll move on to NYC Parks. I believe Jana was not going to be able to make the meeting today. Is Sheena here?
Yeah, I'm not seeing her and I'm not seeing Sheena. So if anyone in the attendee section is representing New York City.
Oh, there she is. Jana just joined. Oh, she left again. We'll come back to NYC Parks just in case. Marcus Garvey.
Sorry,
Oh.
Jessica. Hi, everybody.
Hi, how are you doing, Jana?
Good. I just heard you say my name, so I wanted to say hi. I was on mute.
Great. We're just doing informational updates. Do you want us to come back to you, or are you ready now?
Well, I don't want to interrupt. Was somebody already speaking?
No, it was your turn.
Oh my God, how beautiful is that?
Perfect timing.
Yes. So hello. I'll see if I can. I'm having issues, so I'll just stay on audio here. Good evening, everybody. Yes, we do have some wonderful things. So Marcus Garvey Park, I'll share with you guys the big exciting news, and I hope everybody can come if they can, is we're bringing Met Opera to the park on Monday. So Marcus Garvey Park is going to feature from 5 to 6 p.m. pre-show events featuring Terrence Blanchard, the maker of the opera that opens the Met Opera season on Monday. It is an opera called Fire Shut Up in My Bones, based on Charles Blow, the New York Times columnist, his life memoir, Fire Shut Up in My Bones. And it should be a spectacular evening, you guys. So we'll have him and Casey Lemons, who they have worked together on the film Eve's Bayou and other projects, and they'll be there from 5 to 5:20, and then we'll have some local arts programming. And 6 o'clock, the live satellite feed begins at Marcus Garvey Park Amphitheater, and then 6:30, the actual opera begins. And this is all free to everybody. The only requirement is vaccination or negative PCR COVID test within 72 hours. I'll drop the link if I can figure it out. I think I can in the chat. Summer Stage, I brought in as our producing partner for this event. So you can actually learn more about it on their website, summerstage.org, for Monday, September 27th, Met Opera at Marcus Garvey Park. It's free. Bring everybody you know, and we will hopefully have a fantastic evening. So that concludes the Summer Stage season, and that is our big fun announcement. In terms of other things, I'll just thank Marcus Garvey Park Alliance for the wonderful art that Connie Lee and the Alliance has been bringing to the park, along with our public art department at Parks. We do have 2 new public art installations coming to us at Marcus Garvey, also great news. It's pretty spectacular because Marcus Garvey, of the 4 historic Harlem parks I work with, is the only park that has art in every single quadrant of the park. We've got the Faces of Harlem beautiful photo exhibition at 120th and Mount Morris Park West corner. We've got the beautiful Susan Stairs art installation, mosaic tiles and others on the Acropolis and heading up to the Acropolis from the basketball court. We've got 2 new pieces coming. One is from Studio Museum, fantastic sculpture that will be installed at the end of the month. Or possibly the first week of October. We're waiting for that final date, on the East Lawn at Madison 124th. That's a stunner. It will be with us for close to a year. And then we also have a beautiful sculpture that will be installed around the same time on the lawn, the Northwest corridor. So the 124th at Morris Park, across from the playground. So that is really special and exciting, particularly as I know it's been a hot, long, weird summer. So that beauty is very, very welcome. The sort of logistics admin item that I want to ask people's help on, and thanks to MMPCIA for trying to help us on this. We are waiting to connect with the landlord at 11 Mount Morris Park West. We have tried for months now to get that landlord to reply to us at City Parks, 11 Mount Morris Park West, the corner of 121 and Mount Morris Park West. We desperately need that landlord to be in touch with us, reply to us, so that we can fix we can access through his property. He's got scaffolding up around his building. We need to access underneath that to fix the sewer line issue so that we can open the public restrooms. They've been ready to open since June, but we have not been able to hear back from that landlord. And therefore, until we can fix that sewer line issue that was, it seems, created by some of the work going on there, we cannot open the restrooms. So that is, I know, an ongoing frustration for all of us. We are headed, of course, into fall. So Parks Enforcement Patrol, I wanted to let everybody know their hours will be changing soon. I'm waiting to hear from the Parks Enforcement Patrol on that plan. Right now, they closed their Parks Patrol office right next to the amphitheater, which is also where my office is. They work 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. during the summer for patrolling the park. And once we head into a fall around the equinox, I guess, they will change their hours. So I'm waiting to hear from them in terms of their changed hours. As always, we continue to try to do our best to help the homeless and drug addicted individuals in our park. and work with partners and also hear from you guys with any ideas, solutions, also, you know, challenges that you're experiencing. We want to be able to address that as best possible. So we have been having conversations ongoing with NYPD as well as PEP and Harlem United and other partners to try to address that. Those are my main reports for Marcus Garvey. The one last item, and I don't know if Sheena's here with us, but Sheena, is Sheena here with us tonight?
Not that I see, no.
Okay, so I will make this announcement. Sheena has been moved to Gracie Mansion. Sheena, as we know, is fantastic and dedicated, and we at Parks, the operations chiefs, they do move personnel like Sheena, who are great, to get prepared for other needs at other sites. So Sheena has been moved over to District 6 and 8 and 12, I believe. We don't know yet how long that will last, but David Williams is coming in on Monday as the park manager for District 10 and 11, which includes Marcus Garvey Park. So I'll be looking forward to partnering with David as the administrator. As the park manager, he oversees all operations on site and his operations staff. So he and I will be having a meeting next week. And I'm happy to introduce anyone on the call or beyond who might want to meet David as he's stepping into big shoes. As we know, Sheena is pretty hard to beat. So those are the major announcements, Jessica, but I'm open to any questions.
Thank you so much. And we're so sorry to see Sheena go. She's been such a great advocate for our neighborhood and has been, you know, very helpful over the years that I've been on the board. So please pass her our thank you and
I sure will.
Congratulations. And
definitely will.
Since we don't have Sheena or anyone else, I just wanted to also mention that in our district consultation meetings, it was announced that there's free membership available at Thomas Jefferson and Pelham Fritz recreation centers from September to December. So if everyone get their free membership, that would be great.
Thank you, Jessica. Yes, I as you guys may know, Parks and Recs is separate worlds, but thank you, because I did want to share that from the rec side of things. Pelham Fritz, I can share this. I've been working with my rec center colleagues to kind of get some updates there for you guys. Pelham Fritz is under renovation due to the roof issues with rain, with water damage, with rotting wood. We also are taking advantage of that time to put in some beautiful front plate windows that are going to be stunning, and we're also upgrading the facilities internally that I think everyone's going to be really happy about. So fingers crossed we'll have an open house in spring. But thank you, Jessica, so much, because at Monday's event at Marcus Garvey Park, we're planning to have rec center signups, and as everybody I hope knows, the free rec center membership is good for any rec center. So once Pelham Fritz opens, you guys can, come to Pelham Fritz. But Hansborough, any of the Jackie Robinson, any of the rec centers that are open, you can use this free membership, and sign up is free through the end of December.
Thank you, Jenna. We have 3 questions in the public. We'll go to Alexis Marnell.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Alexis.
Hi. So I'm new over at Classical Theater of Harlem. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Thanks to everybody who came out this summer. We had, even in the rain and COVID, we had 8,000 people showed up, and it was wonderful. I mean, even like walking down the street with Ty, people were just thanking him for always showing up every summer with Uptown Shakespeare in the Park. So I just wanted to say thank you to the community board for your continued support, and I'll be attending these meetings more often. So just thanks and hi.
Well,
Thank you so much, Alexis.
Yeah, and we were delighted to host CTH, as we have for years now, and be a sponsor of it as well. And it was a fantastic show. So Marcus Garvey Park, thanks for everything CTH did to make it come alive with that amazing show, Seize the King.
Thank you.
All right, Alexis, I think you have 2 hands up, so I will go to Crystal Glover.
Hi.
Hi, Crystal.
I was at a program at Marcus Garvey Park a couple of weeks ago. It was very nice. They told us to meet at the tower way up at the top of Marcus Garvey Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't up there. It was down at the lower level. But so I went all the way up to the tower and I saw people shooting up. And so I said to myself, I mean, you know, I just noticed it, all types of people, black, white, everybody. So I come down, and normally when I walk through Marcus Garvey, I see people selling crack. I mean, you know, all this type of stuff going on, people smoking dope and all this kind of thing. And you got children all over the place. You got the pool there where people are going swimming, and there was a group there that was in the health and what they call it, acupuncture. They were trying to work with the addicts and so forth. And so I said to myself, they could put a man on the moon and Biden can take his stinking finger and poke at us about getting the vaccine, but they can't do nothing about them people selling dope to them people in that park. Okay? And I'm
Thank you, Crystal.
personally, it's a bunch of garbage. Okay? So telling the cops to get on top of it obviously is not enough. And there go I. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Crystal. All right, I don't see any other hands. Thank you to everyone for coming and participating. Well, oh, Carly, if you could go back. We are going to move, thank you, to I think Pelham, Fritz, and Marcus Garvey Park Alliance. We've covered a little bit. Connie is not here today. So we'll move to Stacy Pappas from Friends of the East River Esplanade.
Hi. Jessica, I had one quick question for you about the grant. Did they give you a time frame as to when it would be, a decision would be made?
Carly, do you happen to know off the top of your head?
So no, we have not heard back. I know that Parks applied, but I'm not sure when they're going to get back to us about whether or not they were selected to advance the state level.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so updates for Friends of the East River Esplanade. First of all, I'm sorry to see Shayna go from here, but guess what? I get her down to District 8. So we're thrilled to have
Lucky
her down
you.
there. Yeah, so thrilled to have her there, and look forward to working with David Williams here. So a couple of updates. The bait station, we had been talking all summer long about making sure that it gets to stay, and so we've gotten an agreement with Parks, and so it will stay at 100th Street, and we will be maintaining it. There is the pump needs to be replaced and the signage needs to be replaced, so we're working on that. And next to the bait station, our Photoville exhibition is up, and so I hope you all get a chance to go from now between now and December 1st and go see this incredible exhibition by Lola Flash, who is an awesome artist. She's an activist for communities of color and for the LGBTQIA+ community. And it's a really cool exhibition. It's right on the Esplanade. You can get on at 111 and walk down. You can get on at 96 and walk up. So hope to see everybody on the Esplanade at the Photoville stop. We started our Autumn at Acock series, which is down on 60th Street, and it's free music and refreshments every couple of Saturdays. So the next 3 will be October 2nd, 16th, and 30th. There's live music. It's in the afternoon from 1 to 4 p.m. Welcome. It's open to anyone in the community. It's different types of music. You can go on our website and check out who's performing. And then our Coalition for East Harlem Waterfront, we had a couple of good meetings this summer. One was with Commissioner Kavanaugh to talk about the $284 million that the mayor had announced in January. Commissioner told us that the project will be turned over to EDC, which is great because they're already working in the northern part of the Esplanade. So this will just be a continuation. We don't have a plan yet for what EDC wants to do with the 284 million, but we will meet with them and the Parks Department this fall to find out what direction they're going in. And then we also had a meeting with Congressman Espaillat to talk about federal funding for the Esplanade in the northern section from 96 and up. And also with Lieutenant Governor Benjamin's office, before he became Lieutenant Governor, we met with his office to talk about this and how we could use some funding and some support. So they're going to look, his office is going to look into it as well. And that, I think, those are all our updates for now.
Thank you, Stacy. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? I still see Alexis Marnell, you have two sessions and it looks like there's still a hand up.
No, can you hear me? This is Ty Jones.
Okay, Ty Jones, your name is showing up as Alexis Marnell.
That's wild. Okay, now I'm really Ty. So I don't know if you can see me or anything, but I'll make it quick. I had to reiterate. I'm the producing artistic director of the Classical Theater of Harlem. And I just want to say I appreciate all of you all being in our corner. This was a particularly difficult for us, but we did end up being a New York Times critic. We were the first to open live theater outdoors. I'm proud to say that we did that up in Harlem, small company doing big things, but we couldn't have done it without you all. And thank you very much for helping us to host, our now Lieutenant Governor, Brian Benjamin, and Mark Veen and Brewer. You guys, again, thank you for being the kinds of partners that tells the community that they matter. So appreciate every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Xavier. Our Vice Chair of the Community Board.
Hi, good evening. Hopefully you can hear me. I was on the road for work 5.5 hours and just getting back. Theater, much like food, is part culture. It's the way into life. So I was glad to hear that announcement. Personally, having worked in film and being classically trained in front of camera and on stage, I just want to say this is an outlet, and especially when performing outside, it's given a great opportunity for many people to have catharsis, and I'm really glad to see that. And everyone here I just want to say a quick word to all of our new members. Some of you've seen my ugly mug on screen. Apologize, can't help it, just the way it was made, but we're all in it together. Tell you thank you for your patience, and we're going to continue working together. If you have any questions, concerns, everyone who's at this meeting or our new members, feel free to reach out. I'll drop my email in the chat. And thank you, Jess and all. And Francis, I still need to go have that coffee with you at some point. So miss seeing you and everyone else. So thank you. Have a great meeting.
Thank you, Xavier. All right, I don't see any more hands up. Stacy, thank you so much for partnering with the community board and all the work that you do with the Coalition for the East Harlem Waterfront. We really appreciate your help with the grant application, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without you.
Well, I'm fingers crossed it's going to happen for you guys.
Fingers crossed. All right, we'll move on to Civitas. Is Sharon here today with us? I don't see her here, but Sharon is part of Civitas and the East Harlem, the Coalition for the East Harlem Waterfront as well, and has been great to get to know, and we look forward to having them at our meetings from now on. Debbie is not here from Friends of the Harlem Art Park Alliance, but I also wanted to check if anyone from Transportation Alternatives was here before we move on. All right. No one can make it today. That's okay. The third rescheduling must have done it for us. So, all right, we'll move on to our presentations. I believe we still do not have quorum. So In the case that we are unable to vote on this tonight, we can do that at the next meeting. Carly, it's okay to move on with this presentation, right?
So actually, Drive Shack is actually requesting a letter of support. I'm not sure if we would prefer to listen first to Studio Museum's presentation on the Marcus Garvey Park project, just because they're not requesting a letter of support. Would the folks from Drive Shack be okay with that?
Sure, we're good with that.
Great. I think we have one more committee member on their way, just hasn't joined yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great. So we'll go first to our information presentation about a temporary public art project coming to Marcus Garvey Park in October 2021. Please feel free to share the screen and get started.
Hi, this is Sydney Briggs. I'm the Director of Collection and Exhibitions at the Studio Museum in Harlem. My colleagues will get the presentation in order, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present this exciting project that we're always happy to engage with the parks, and specifically with Marcus Garvey Park, which has been a really wonderful partner with us. And I'm going to pass it on to my three colleagues: Eric Booker, Assistant Curator and Exhibition Coordinator; Yelena Keller, Curatorial Assistant for Exhibitions; and Gina Gudemi, who is our Registrar. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here, and thank you for having us. And we'll just get started with our presentation on Thomas J. Price Witness upcoming exhibition. I'll hand it over to Yelena.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you, Sydney. I'm just gonna say that has been glitchy today, so if things go haywire, just let me know. In it for the ride. So it is such a thrill to be here with you all tonight to talk about our next in Harlem project. As the museum is currently closed for construction of our new home on 125th Street, the In Harlem initiative has allowed the museum to really deepen its roots in the community by producing a series of exhibitions in public parks and libraries throughout Harlem. Since 2016, the museum has produced 3 library projects and parks projects. Thomas J. Price will mark its 4th.
Elena, you're coming in just a little bit choppy for me. It may just be me, but is anyone else experiencing choppiness? Yeah, it may be helpful to turn your video off. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And so I'll just step in to speak a little bit about the slide that we're seeing here. So we've had the pleasure of working across the 4 historic Harlem parks since 2016, and of course have come to this community board before to present our public art projects and part of the In Harlem Parks initiative that Elena was just sharing about. So our last project that we staged was in St. Nicholas Park. This is the top left image that you see here of Chloe Bass wayfinding in 2019. And this was taking a sort of inspiration from the vernacular of wayfinding signage and proposing these poetic conceptual prompts that led park goers throughout St. Nicholas Park. The year before, we were back in Marcus Garvey Park with Marin Hassinger's monuments, which you can see here on the top right. And that was a collaboratively built project, 8 sculptures that were built in tandem with the community across Marcus Garvey Park, an incredibly fun and beautiful project of abstract sculptures composed of branches. And then we kicked off our presence in the parks in collaboration with the parks in 2016 across actually all 4 historic Harlem parks, but just showing an image here of Simone Lee's sculptures in the circular lawn that we'll be presenting on today for our upcoming Thomas J. Price exhibition.
Thank you. We're thrilled to be turning again to Marcus Garvey Park the exhibition Thomas J. Price Witness, which is organized by Legacy Russell, former associate curator of exhibitions at the Studio Museum, who is now executive director, chief curator at the Kitchen, alongside myself and colleagues at the Studio Museum. So Thomas J. Price Witness is the first U.S. solo institutional exhibition for the British artist. The exhibition itself consists of one 9-foot bronze sculpture, The Distance In, which takes a young Black man looking down at his cell phone. Across the arc of Thomas's practice, he has referred to these figures as psychological portraits, as figures themselves are made from imagined subjects whose features are inspired by the people around him and the people he grew up with. Thomas was born and raised in Brixton in South London, which is also a historically Black neighborhood. He has often expressed feeling a connection with Harlem as a place he considers a home away from home. In this exhibition, Thomas is continuing his exploration of Blackness, Black masculinity at this monumental scale. He is celebrating everyday Blackness while also challenging us to think through the ways in which Black bodies are made monolithic. In this work, Price is challenging us with questions and asking us to consider what is projected onto Black bodies as they move around the world and through space, and also the way in which Black bodies in everyday are subject to extraordinary surveillance. There's a photo too that sort of cites the work within the park. So we will be citing particular sculpture in the northeast corner of Circular Lawn Park. And in addition to sculpture itself, we are excited to be working on public programs that will engage the Harlem community and provide different entry points into this work, as well as an audio guide, which will feature clips direct from the artist, speaking more deeply and contextualizing his work in this larger practice, as well as a few points of inquiry that will further guide visitors and audiences as they are spending time with this work in Marcus Garvey Park.
And so just to show a little bit on the fabrication of the sculpture, we've been working with a foundry in upstate New York called UAP, located in Beacon, and have been working alongside them and the artist Thomas Price in fabricating this sculpture in bronze. So you can see here at the top left, here's a segment of the sculpture, the head or the bust, and this is a PMMA rubber print. So it's a sculpture that's printed from a digital mock-up, and then it goes through casting, gating and casting in the entire sort of bronze process that you can see just some highlights here. And then into patina, which the sculpture will receive a sort of black patina. And this is an image of just before that.
As the registrar at Studio Museum, I'm here to speak to the logistics of installing the sculpture. And we are working to install on Wednesday, September 29th, which is about a week away. And we'll be starting very early in the morning at around 6 a.m. and hoping to finish in the early afternoon, as we do not want to disrupt too much activity in the park. We'll be working with a team of a team of professional art installers through UAP, through the foundry that has fabricated the sculpture. They will be bringing one vehicle into the park, as well as a gantry to place the sculpture due to the weight. And the sculpture will be sitting on a steel base. It will be bolted to that base, which is sunken below ground level. So here you're seeing 3 images on the left, or from moving from left to right, of previous sculptures that have been installed. And then the last image is the site looking west. So the sculpture would be at the north edge of the oval here. Studio Museum representatives will be on site when we're installing to help answer any questions and communicate about the project with the public and those in the park. And we're very, very excited. I can say on behalf of all of my colleagues here that we're thrilled to be installing this sculpture in Marcus Garvey Park.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your work in the community, all of you, and for bringing this this work to our parks. It looks great, and we can't wait to see it installed. Are there any questions from the board? Michelle?
It's more so a comment to say that, look, and I really enjoyed the fabrication of the project, as well as I do have a question. Is there going to be some sort of signage? Because it didn't seem like there was one previously of saying who the artist is, out, and how large would that would that be too much so that staff is visible?
Sorry, Michelle, just to answer your question, I think you're cutting out a little bit, but to answer the things that I heard from you, one thing about the fabrication of the sculpture, we're excited to be working on producing a video around the work that'll be uploaded to our website. And part of that is to really show an educational aspect of what it means and what it looks like to produce a bronze sculpture. Regarding signage, yes, there will definitely be signage contextualizing the work and giving the public a bit more information about the project, about the artist. We've been working with New York City Parks on some adjustments that they've made to their parks signage specifications. So there'll be two 12 by 18, fairly small, but we've packed as much information in there as we can. Signs, and then a QR code that will actually lead you back to our website where you can hear more about the artist, and then finally access a phone number on that signage for an audio guide, access to audio guide to hear the artist's voice and have Thomas talk about the project himself. And then lastly, I think you asked about the size of the sculpture. It'll be 9 feet tall. So part of the kind of conceptual process that Thomas is thinking about in making his work is again, as Yelena said, this sort of idea of monumentalizing the subject, the Black subject in the everyday. So this sort of dissonance that happens when there's an enlargement beyond human scale, I think is, we just saw the sculpture in the Foundry last week, and it's quite powerful and striking. So we're excited to bring that to you all very soon.
Oh, that it was 9 feet. That part I liked, that it would be up in your face, not ashamed to be there. Strong, powerful Black presence. That I really thought a huge part of what he was trying to say. So I look forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any other questions from the board or the public? Please raise your hand. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming for Studio Museum. We appreciate you being here and talking about this, and we look forward to it being installed next week.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I believe we're still stalling for, there's 2 board members trying to join. I wonder, if before we move on to our Drive Shack presentation, I know we have Chris Lawrence here who would like to give a quick update about a project he's working on and ask for collaborators. So Chris, we can go ahead and take your announcement now.
I just promoted Chris to panelist, but he can give his announcements, but Debbie just joined and we now have quorum.
Great, thank you, Carl.
All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Thanks very much. I was just very excited to hear about Stacey's talk about the Friends of the East River Esplanade and the coalition for the waterfront. So this is very similar to that. But I've been talking to some people who are very motivated about working with us if we are interested. I'm a community organizer in East Harlem. The idea of a floating farm attached to the Pier 107 and its new, if it's newly reconstructed. So it's a very different sort of approach to using the leverage of promised funds from the city to generate an economic activity alongside the Esplanade. It would be the sort of activity that was a social or economic enterprise, but with a social investment process. And it's going to be looking at customized employment for people who would find it difficult to do regular employment. So we're talking about something similar to an urban farm, but a floating version of it, which would be adjacent to the pier in the area that's not navigable channel. So it's away from the navigable channel in the shallow bit of the water. And I just think if you're going to spend something like, what, 284 million, then you can really add value and generate a hub for community activity and social enterprise that would benefit possibly as many as 100 people that could work there, maybe not all year round, but certainly seasonally. So I just wanted to signal that and say, I will be in contact with the coalition and Friends of East River and anybody else that's interested in that bit of the riverside. But this is a really tremendous opportunity that I don't think we should just let this be a makeover of what we already have. As much as we want a pristinized and future-proofed Esplanade, it's incredibly narrow at points, and this is a way of extending the footprint and giving us much more potential to do stuff around the pier, certainly north of the pier, that would generate a really important social dividend for East Harlem. Okay, so
Thank you, Chris.
I'll just put my email in the chat, and then
that's what I was gonna ask.
Hopefully you can sort of get in touch, and I'll, as I say, be in touch with others like Stacey who are already working hard on it. Is that okay?
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. And Chris is going to post his information into the chat, his email address, if anyone would like to collaborate with him on this effort. And while we're here, we also have Jessica Morris, I think, who is a community board member as well, and would also like to give a quick update on a project that she's working on.
Hi, Jessica. Hello, everybody, Environment, Open Space, and Parks. And Chris and I met on the street this weekend, actually, so it's gratuitous to follow such a statement of a vision and statement that what is and has been isn't necessarily what needs to be. I've got 3 minutes, 2.5 right now, but I also wanted to float an idea here at the committee, something that I have suggested both to some electeds and their teams, as well as others throughout the community in various ways. And it's a bit of a sort of big idea, but it's not unachievable in the immediate term. So the thought is,
Anna, could you please mute yourself? Also, your video is on. Thank you. Go ahead, Jessica.
Sure. The thought is considering FDR northbound from 96th Street to 125th Street as an open street on Sunday mornings from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. For bicycle riding, for walking, 4 healthful activities. It's a 2-mile stretch. And currently we cannot get from one end of our district to the other along that edge that is considered a huge point of open space in East Harlem. So I think we can't wait 5, 7, 10 years for things to be done. There should be a way to immediately access and move in a healthful, recreational way regularly from one point in our district that starts at Stanley Isaac's Playground. Stanley Isaac's is similar to Cracker's Whack and the other parks around 125th, just north of, that are disrupted by traffic and streets and are not together in one place, but you cross over and you breathe air that has all sorts of particulate in it because of the nearby traffic. So would be a statement that East Harlem matters and East Harlem matters now. And it would be a lot of fun, I think, to come out regularly. There's some precedent statewide coming from knowledge at the borough president's office. There's some precedent up in Boston along Memorial Drive, which has a pop-up park every Saturday and Sunday now in Cambridge, and it's well loved and utilized. So there is no ask, but there's just a kind of a shout out to partners up and down the river to think about whether we might like to be able to get from one end to the other. If not this fall, I think next spring, we have a new gubernatorial leadership, and working between the city and the state would be essential. And I think recognizing a community that hasn't gotten its due along that edge in a long time, it would be a special thing to be able to move in that direction.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. If you don't mind putting your email address in the chat for us, so that anyone who's interested in collaborating on this with you can reach out. And thank you so much for being here and introducing us to your work.
Sure thing. And I think Vice Chair of the Transportation and Public Safety Committee. So there's a little bit of overlap when we deal with roads and open space and all those good things. So I will put my email in the chat. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. And we've successfully stalled to have a quorum. So Carly, I wonder if we'd take the roll call now. Right.
Sure thing. Collier.
Present. Present. Had to find that mute button.
Elliott.
Present.
Giordano. Yoon. Johnson. Lee. Mastrota. Francis. You're not on mute, Francis. I mean, you are.
There you are. Say it now, Francis. Oh, you muted yourself again. Mute one more time and then say it. No, not yet. Now.
Present.
Thank you, Francis.
McCullough. Pena. Quinones.
Present.
Thank you, Debbie. Rodriguez.
Present.
Schuler.
Present.
Wiltshire Clement.
Present.
Right.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Thank you. And as everyone here knows, quorum is important, and I'm preaching to the choir, but we can't do our business without having enough board members here. So thank you to everyone who's here, and please try to make it a point to be here for every meeting, or let me know if there's a meeting that you might be late to or are going to have to miss. So just going back to the beginning of the meeting really quickly, the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from our last meeting were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the meeting minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the last committee meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB11 website. The minutes of tonight's meeting are being taken by Jessica Elliott. And we will move now to our first discussion and presentation on Drive Shack with Randall's Island and Paul Pelham.
Thanks, Jessica. And
Thank you.
thanks for the tenacity and getting this meeting rescheduled and giving us an opportunity to appear before your committee. We really appreciate it. We're super excited to be presenting our Drive Shack concept to y'all tonight. This is an opportunity to bring golf as a recreational concept and entertainment concept back to Randall's Island, and at an exceptional level. For those of you that don't know, Drive Shack is an affordable, technology-enabled, next-generation driving range that has interactive golf-related games for players of all skill levels, all ages. And we have 4 open around the country, and we've been working on this project for a little over 3 years. As many of you know, the existing golf center is in disrepair. It's been closed for a number of years. So we're really excited to bring this back as a community asset. So with that, I will turn it over to Ricardo Zarita, who will take us through our drawings and our site plan, and then we can circle back. I'll say a few words on our programming and open the floor for questions and discussion.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I'm very excited to be back here. Some of you know me, and it's exciting to see new faces. Carly, should I be presenting or are you presenting?
You can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. How do I? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay. So as I said, it's exciting. Randall's Island is a second home to our firm, and to me, we've been involved for a very long time. Some of you know me and my firm. Some of you, and I think all of you know some of the work we've done over the past couple of decades. So this slide is just sort of a reintroduction of us to you. We designed those bright comfort stations, the tennis center, which is currently being expanded, the electrical substation, which brought power to a very large part of the island, and of course, Icon Stadium, which was our first project that was completed about 15 years ago. The site itself is on the northern edge of parkland that we call Harlem River Fields, just north of Icon Stadium. It's a 16-acre site. There are some notable features which include, it's ringed by quite beautiful mature trees that will either leave alone or take care of if they need taken care of. What's on the site now, as Paul mentioned, is an existing golf center, which is in poor condition. And you can see the arc of the current stalls. There are 80 stalls on 2 tiers, and then a few other ancillary buildings and structures. These are, well, I'll go through this quickly. I'll just show you a few photos just to sort of refresh everyone's memory. The top view is looking west of the 2-tier golf driving range building. The lower one is looking east, and it's from the fairway to the two-level building, and you can see the upper level does not have a roof. I think again, what's notable, if you look at the background of these very beautiful trees, to the left is the stand of sycamore trees, which is frankly is one of the hidden treasures of Randall's Island, and we hope to unhide it. This upper view is looking south towards the Harlem River and Parkland, and the lower view looks west to the the towers of the Manhattan span of the RFK Bridge. Our site plan, I won't spend too much time on this. There are a few notable qualities which I want to bring to everyone's attention. Our building is significantly larger than what's there now. It's a 70,000 square foot building. What we're doing is we're not siting it in exactly the same location. You'll notice that it's moved a bit west. What that is allowing us to do is really to return almost half the site, half of the 16-acre site, into beautiful parkland. We're going to move all of the paving areas, all of the paved areas, which are numerous in this eastern portion of the site. Restore that beautiful alley of sycamore trees and create this very large passive parkland to the west of the alley of sycamore trees. That area currently is fenced off. We're removing the fence, and people, parkgoers, will be able to seamlessly walk north and south from the areas around Icon Stadium or from any parts of the park into this area. The building itself is pretty straightforward. It's on 3 levels. Has 96 stalls, so 32 stalls per floor, so a bit more than what's there now. Now, obviously, the quality is really night and day. This is a 21st century facility, which Paul can tell you much more about than I can or will at this moment. There are basically 4 components to the project. The central area, which you see, which is mostly graded, shown graded, is the public entrance. And in here, there's food service, public bathrooms. Anyone can come in. You don't need to come in and play golf to use the facilities here. The right side on the north wing is all back of house, includes a full-size kitchen on the 2nd floor, and then all sort of offices and loading areas and mechanical rooms on the lower and 3rd floor. On the left side, this sort of interesting enclosure or interesting geometry of the circle is a 1-story miniature golf area. And on the 2nd floor, it's really more of same. It's as I said, on the left, you'll be able to see the roof of the miniature golf. The middle portions is public lounge areas and circulation, and then to the right is back of house, kitchen. 3rd floor, the only thing that's really notable that's quite different is that we have a small terrace that overlooks the mini golf and looks south and gives you beautiful views of the skyline beyond. Even you can see very clearly even the super talls, whether we want to or not, of Midtown Manhattan. And of course, 32 stalls along the western face of the building on each floor, and they're open stalls. The project's in progress. I'll tell you a little bit about what that means in a minute. These are images of what the building could look like. It's a long building. We're looking at making a sort of a playful form with the structure that encloses the miniature golf. The central portion, which looks into the 3-story indoor space, is intended to be very open, very glassy, so you can see the activities not only inside this open to the public spaces, but also beyond. We want people, as they approach the building, to even see people swinging a golf club in the tiers on beyond the lobby and lounges themselves. The lower drawing is very straightforward. It shows the 3 tiers of the driving stalls, the driving bays, and all 3 stalls, or all three tiers, excuse me, are roofed. So in this view, this is a view from the entrance, and as I mentioned, first thing you'd see is sort of the calling card, which would be this very exciting miniature golf enclosure, this sort of sculptural form, and then beyond you see all this sort of glassy entrance that looks into the main entrance area. The big structures you see beyond are the net posts, which actually are there now. We're replacing them. They're quite poor condition right now. This is a view looking from the west, and there you see the open tiers. Many of you, it doesn't look unlike these sort of open facilities like you might see it in Chelsea Piers, for example. I think what's notable, and it's just sort of hinted at here, is something that we're doing that's very, very important. I think it sort of pushes us into a situation that is very favorable to park goers, whether or not they're coming to play golf. And that is, we're opening up the site in different areas, including from the north and northeast when you're by the Harlem River, and allowing you to go through by foot or by bicycle through the site and connect with different parts of the park. You can't do that presently. Right now, the 16 acres are ringed by chain link fence. So this is really a game changer in terms of how the park and this portion of the park will be experienced. In terms of our environmental strategy, the building needs and will comply with all the requirements of the 21st century in terms of energy efficiency and healthiness, resilience, all of the issues that we're dealing with currently in terms of climate change. And I don't want to talk too much about it, except to make 2 points. One is that we are planning to have substantial areas of solar panels for energy generation. And 2, we are planning currently a very sophisticated stormwater management system where although this is a much larger facility and building that's there currently, we will not impact one drop of additional stormwater. We will not increase the amount of flow into the existing system. And we're doing this through a series of stormwater management systems that includes, Francis, you'll love this, rain gardens, of course, and other retention, tension, and porous surface strategies. And then finally, this is a sort of brief timeline. We met with the Public Design Commission and did a first conceptual presentation on Monday. We got some really wonderful feedback, very thoughtful comments, and we will be spending quite a bit of time with them throughout the rest of the year. This was just the first step. We were planning to go to them earlier, but they canceled their August meeting. So we're with you now, and again, we're here to and welcome comments and observations and whatever engagement you feel comfortable sharing with us. We're back with the PDC, as I mentioned, and with Parks. We're working closely with Parks and RIPA, so that'll take us into winter of next year, and then hopefully we'll have our ducks in order. We'll go to the building department and go through that entire process, which is quite intense. We hope to start construction in June of next year. Amazing, which is exciting, and be done in 18 months and open by the end of the following year. Now I'll turn it over to Paul. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, again, as Rick said, the facility is totally open to the public. We will have food service and restaurant that's also open to the public. We'll have free Wi-Fi. Anticipated hours of operation are from 9 a.m. to midnight, and the midnight is when the park closes. So that's what we're required to close at that time. For those of you that don't know, Drive Shack is an affiliate of American Golf Corporation. American Golf has run 5 of New York City's parks public golf courses since the mid 1980s. So we've had a lot of experience partnering with our communities in the boroughs in New York City. And we plan to draw on that experience, as we program and open up the Drive Shack at Randall's Island. So some of the key things we did want to touch upon with some of our community programming and outreach, and in particular, and important to me since I'm a product of junior golf. I started as the kid who actually drove that little truck around and picked up golf balls at a driving range. And look what happened 25 plus years later, what I'm doing now. Pretty exciting. So we look to partner with RIPA Parks and other CBOs to align on our programming and make sure that we're optimizing the impact of that programming and our outreach efforts. But some of the things we've been thinking about is really focused on free youth programs, focused on East Harlem and South Bronx, nonprofit and schools. We obviously have a great partner with RIPA, and we'd be looking to activate the Drive Shack facilities for the RIPA Kids Summer Camp so that we can provide free weekday play, day play, and really try to grow, golf as an integral recreational option for the kids participating in that camp. Something we do at all of our golf courses, and would be committed to doing it here at Drive Shack Randall's Island, is partnering with high school golf teams to provide free weekday bay play for practice and instruction. It's just another opportunity. There's really only 2 other driving ranges available to any of the schools in and around New York City, and one of those is on Staten Island. So this will be a really nice feature for the schools that are closer in proximity to Randall's Island. And then overall, we look to host city-sponsored youth instruction and development programs, providing again, free weekday access, and our goal is to promote golf as a lifelong recreational activity. So just a flavor there of some of the youth programs. What we do at several of our Drive Shacks is we also provide opportunities for wounded veterans groups and people with disabilities. Basically, it's partnering with clubs so that folks can come out and enjoy folks that have had similar experiences in a cool, fun, and recreational and entertainment sort of way. So we'd like to continue those types of things here at Drive Shack Randall's Island as well once we're able to open. Rick, if you could push it to the next slide. Also extremely exciting. This is a big facility, as Rick said, and it requires a lot of talent to manage it. And we're expecting that Drive Shack Randall's Island, similar to our other Drive Shacks, is going to create 350 permanent jobs. And those are going to be in a wide variety of positions, from hourly positions up to, very senior level management positions. And what's exciting about this is, folks can perhaps go through the story I went through, where I was an hourly worker at a driving range and ended up becoming an executive at a golf company, working my way through many of these positions that you see here listed on this slide. But ample opportunity for, training, learning, and upward advancement. So we'd really look to work with the Community Board 11 to help us to get the word out to the community that the jobs are available, what positions are available. We work on recruiting events because we can't do this alone. This is, again, a big facility, and it's amazing that it works like such a fine-tuned machine when it's there, but it does take time. We need to build up our talent. We need to build up our bench, and we can only do that in partnering with the local community. So We'll definitely be coming back to you all as we get closer to our opening date, and hoping that we can work together to fill these positions with your constituents. With that, I think I'll open it up to questions or comments. And thank you again for taking the time to let us present to you. We're excited to be bringing this to your community.
Thank you both. And before I move to questions from the board and the public, I just wanted to make sure that everyone on the committee knows that we are asked for a letter of support to support this project tonight. So please raise your hand if you have any questions. I have a couple of questions myself. Firstly, I just was curious what phase of design the project is in.
We're in schematic, excuse me, we're in schematic design. And in terms of the Public Design Commission process, we're technically in conceptual design, which if you talk to an architect doesn't really mean anything.
Right, exactly.
We're at the very beginning. We're at
Yes.
at the beginnings.
Great. Yes, there are a number of architects on our board, myself included. So just curious where you are in the process. And then I greatly appreciate, Paul, your comments about partnering with the community board and our local organizations and schools. I would encourage you to visit our economic development and culture committee in order to get the process started with local hiring and how the community board can assist you on those things earlier than later. And then you mentioned that there would be some programs. I don't know if you can go back one slide, but just wanted to follow up on what conversations we had in March. Mentioned that Drive Shack will work to include nonprofit youth engagement, including reaching out to high schools in the area 3 months before the site opens. We love Randall's Island and Randall's Island Park Alliance, and there are a lot of great outreach to our neighborhood in order to engage our local residents and the programming and activities available on Randall's Island. And I think, at least since I've been a part of the board, has been something that's been highlighted and greatly advanced over the years. So we, as one of the probably less likely to play golf neighborhoods, would encourage you to make an extra effort to include our community members and work with our local nonprofits and our high schools directly in order to make sure that our community is represented in the programming of this facility. And we also discussed concerns over pricing and potential community benefits agreements. So I was just curious if you could just respond to how you intend to price and include East Harlem specifically as the facility opens. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate all those comments, and certainly appreciate the guidance. Yeah, so in terms of pricing, what's exciting about this product is the equipment, the clubs to be able to hit and play, and all the games that are, technologically generated are all included in the bay rental price. And the bays themselves, the hitting stalls, they can have a capacity of up to 6 persons in one bay rental price. And so what you see is, a typical rental is like $30 to $55 per 1 hour, depending upon the day and time of day. And what that equates to per person is like $5 to $8 per person. And the beauty is there's unlimited golf balls during the bay rental time. The range was there prior, and most ranges that you'd visit today, they're $15 per person. It's $15 for a bucket of balls, and there's a limited number of balls that you can play with. So it can become more of a sort of a family outing or group outing event And it's also quite a bit more social, I would say. So what we'll be doing is we manage the rates, sort of based on various times of the day and whether it's weekday or weekend. So we'll have something for everybody in terms of offerings.
Great. And could you just speak quickly to the engagement and outreach plans that you have to the community?
Yes, we will reach out directly to the local schools as you suggested. And we'll have once we hire our local staff, which we will hire well in advance of opening, they will start that process, and we'll revisit with the community board as well, to get some input from you all as to who we should be specifically reaching out to. This is not going to open for 2+ years, and circumstances may change, and we'll certainly want to keep our ear to the ground, so to speak, so that we understand exactly where we need to be focusing our efforts in the community, specifically represented by your board.
Great. I'm not a great golfer, but I was on the high school girls golf team in school, and I was the worst player. So I look forward to using your facilities, and I would be happy to help organize and coordinate the reaching out to schools. I'm not sure, I'm not on the Youth and Education Committee, but I would be interested to know how many of our schools actually have golf programs, and what sort of involvement schools could have, whether or not they have a team. And we'll certainly work with you on that process.
So Jessica, may I just interject something? So we have a few high schools in East Harlem. However, high schools are citywide schools, and they serve kids from all over the city. So we probably want to reach out to not only schools, but more CBOs in terms of this process. And I have to be a little cautious, because we heard all the same promises from a tennis center that opened on Randall's, and promised all these wonderful things and opportunities for our kids that really didn't happen. And then when they came back to the community board to share, one of the students that benefited was a student that lived in Yonkers, and they couldn't find one from East Harlem in their program to represent East Harlem at the East Harlem Community Board. So I guess, for me, this is the first time I'm kind of hearing of this in the general sense. And again, we taken another large space in Randall's Island and giving it to a private organization to make money. And the commitment is, when we sit here, we often have a commitment to actively get kids to participate, but it doesn't really always happen. So what assurances, and many of the kids that you may get from this community will not have the money to go pay to go do this on the side. So it's only this little opportunity, So what assurances? How many spaces? Because what we see is in Randall's, our kids can't get bused there, but private schools bus to these facilities. Private schools have the money. Kids who already have opportunities get opportunities where kids who do not have them in their own community should have. So I'm the chair of the Youth and Education Committee. My name is David Giordano.
Hey, David, thank you for that.
And we would love to invite you to really discuss further how this will be implemented and assure that East Harlem kids will benefit.
Yeah, so I can certainly point to the junior programs that we have at the golf courses, where kids are playing in the afternoon for $1, and helped out by what we call our ambassadors in terms of getting around the course or getting some pointers and things like that. I mean, we're committed to the game of golf. It's in our DNA, and if we're not building the youth programs, we have no future. So I can tell you, as a product of junior golf myself, that is our commitment. And so your community is our neighbor, and we need to be able to promote golf in your community. And We have we have actually in our agreement the accessibility of bay play in particular for these summer camps and such. But transportation is certainly a key point that you bring up there. We are looking at shuttle service. Right now, we have the shuttle service to be free for kids under 12. Perhaps we can explore expanding that to free for folks, under 16 or what have you. But that I probably, and I'm glad you brought that point up. I think transportation is probably one of the bigger challenges, and we'll work to help with that with our shuttle service. And I know that we're also Parks is in talks with TBTA to try and expand transportation access to the site as well. Walking transport, bike transport, those types of things.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, David. Your name says Natasha Rodriguez, David, just so you know. So yes, we invite you to come to both the youth and education committees and the economic development and culture committees to discuss these things. Michelle, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to what David had said earlier with the transportation. And the response was to maybe take it to the age of 16. I think for a proper youth program, it should be to the age of graduation from high school. If your target range is really below that, then it should be state. If it is for youth programs, it should be till the age of graduation from high school for a proper shuttle to be done.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. That's absolutely correct.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Are there any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? All right, and just to bring up the thought that when we make our motion to, for a letter of support, or that we can add conditions as necessary to help, move forward the things that we need as a community and make sure those commitments are upheld. I'm going to open the floor for a motion to be made if anyone is ready. Please raise your hand. And if anyone would like to work with me on creating those those conditions of support, go ahead, Diane.
I'm not going to make a motion. I'm just recollecting that we're sending them to economic, correct?
Yes.
And we're sending them, David, are we sending them to you as well?
Yes.
We should, because if they're specifically talking about this being something for East Harlem and for the youth of East Harlem, then we need to make sure we vet it properly. Like right now, I could not give any support to this because again, it's fallen short too many times.
I agree with you, David. I've been like you, I've been here for a while, very much aware of the sports time, very much aware of the tennis, very much aware even on some issues around Randall's Island overall. So Jessica, I'm having some difficulty also, meaning that because we're sending them to other committees as well. I'm not sure if this would be, after having gone through all the other committees, this would be decided by the executives. I mean, I think it's a great initiative. It's just some questions about it that the other committees have to weigh in on. I mean, that's just my take on it.
Thank you, Diane. That's a good point. May I ask, Paul, when you need the letter of support by?
Well, we're in the process of working with the PDC, so I'm sure as we're going through that process that they'd like to hear from us that we've met with you all. I guess one thing just to bear in mind here is that this is a long process to get to be open, and to make specific decisions now is going to be impacted if the last year hasn't taught us all anything. It's hard to say what 2.5 years from now is going to look like. So I would request you have our commitment that we will meet with both of these committees. I feel like as we're getting closer to the opening time, because the information and the initiatives would be more fresh, is what I'd like to commit to. But I'll defer to you on that.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I think my thought is that I generally agree with the longstanding board members who have voiced their thoughts, and that there generally has been a disconnect between services in the past, especially on Randall's Island. So we definitely are working with Randall's Island Park Alliance and look forward to working with you. I'm wondering if so this month we've met later in the process in the month than we normally would, and the other committees have mostly already met. I'm wondering if it would be possible for you to explore meeting with those committees in the month of October, and then we could revisit this vote for a letter of support in November. Would that be congruent with your timeline?
Rick or Deb, do you guys know what the timing is in terms of when PDC would expect something?
Well, we're planning to go back to PDC in November. I believe the hearing is around, I don't remember exactly, around the 18th. We're submitting on the 21st of October.
So Youth and Education meets the second week in October, and we would definitely make room. Let me just ask you this, Paul. How long have you been working on this particular project for this site? Because if you've been working on this for years and now you come before us now, and
they came in March, David. They came in March, and before that.
I must have not been something.
It's okay. We see a lot of things.
Yeah, we could if you can make room, David, for us in October at the Youth and Education Committee, we'd be more than happy to attend.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And then we can, support you as best as we can, as quick as possible with at least this committee.
Yeah, and I think worst case scenario, if you needed a letter of support by mid-November, just because the Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee usually meets at the beginning of the month, we could potentially hold a vote in the executive committee meeting of October, and then and get that letter of support to you by the beginning of November. So that sounds okay.
And all transparency, Paul and Ricardo, we've not always been as best as putting our kids out there as well and getting them. So we want to really work collaboratively to maximize what we can offer East Harlem kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Great. So what I'm hearing is that the Drive Shack team will meet with both the Youth and Education and the Economic Development and Culture committees in the month of October, and we can potentially add this to our executive committee to get a final vote before a full board in October. Diane, you have a question?
I just have one question. What ages are you starting with, Paul?
It's mostly like that early teen, some respects 12. But we like to,
So that'd be middle school, like middle school age.
Yeah,
that would help us also identify which schools may be, possible. I also have a good relationship with the superintendent, so I'll also explore with her when I meet with her Friday possibilities with some of this.
Okay.
And the other question, Jessica, I'd like them to give some thought to is what type of jobs are we talking about over there? They will have to go to economics, so they should be prepared to discuss that.
Yes, if they advance to the next slide, you can see a list of jobs. And they said over 350 positions potentially available to be filled with opportunity for growth and professional development.
Well, I know, but we've been through this rodeo before, right, David?
All right, yeah, no, and I understand the hesitation on all sides. We've tried to put other things in Randall's Island that has not worked out for us. So, you know, we're working through these things, and we appreciate you, Paul and Ricardo, coming to present on this. I personally think it's going to be a great project, and we look forward to having you at the other two committees in order to discuss with them how we can best integrate our efforts together to help support your outreach to our community. And we'll move forward with exploring a letter of support at that time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to the committee members, as always, for your passion and dedication to these things. As I know, we've seen a lot over the years. So if we could move on, Carly. Thank you. Thank you, Paul, Ricardo, for being here.
Thank you.
And
Thanks
now
for the
we'll move
input.
on. We'll move on to our public input survey for the community district needs. Carly will give us a presentation that she's worked really hard on and has done an excellent job at. So thank you so much, Carly.
Of course. Yeah, so this is actually my last presentation to the committee. I've been giving presentation. Well, I've created presentations for all the committees. Angel and Marlene have helped me out in giving those presentations so that I don't need to attend every single committee meeting because we have a lot. But I'll talk about next steps at the end of this. So yeah, I'm just gonna get started. I'm having some trouble with my Wi-Fi. I'm in a room that doesn't have good Wi-Fi, so my video will be off. So over the summer, Community Board 11 collected feedback for our budget process through the public input survey for community district needs. Tonight, I'm going to present a summary of the responses that we received. I'll start with a really brief overview of the survey's role in the larger budget process and establish the goals for tonight's presentation and discussion. And then I'm going to get into the survey results relating to the work of this committee, the Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee. Specifically, we're going to look at the core infrastructure, city services, and resiliency policy section, as well as the parks, cultural, and other community facilities policy section. And then I'm going to open up the discussion portion of the presentation where I want to hear from the committee members about your questions, your comments, and your feedback on the public input survey. And then finally, I'm going to walk the committee through the next steps for the district needs and budget process. So for newer board members and meeting attendees who might not be familiar with this process, community boards are given a broad range of responsibilities for advising the city about local budget needs and priorities. Those interested in learning more about our role in the budget process are encouraged to attend our district needs and budget committee meeting. We specifically have one happening next Thursday. There will be a public hearing, the last opportunity for our constituents to, provide their feedback on our needs. And so, yeah, the public input survey is part of our board's larger community engagement strategy for our annual statement of district needs and budget requests. This year, we collected survey responses over a time period of 2 months, and we received a total of 235 responses. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to review the public input related to the work of this committee. And we also hope that committee members will engage with the input by providing your feedback and making recommendations for additions or revisions to the content. It's important to note that the public input is only one contributing factor in the community board's needs assessment. We're also going to take our previous positions in the budget consultations with our city agencies into account when we draft the final submission. So the first policy section is the core infrastructure, city services and resiliency section. This policy area encompasses the services and programs that are offered through the Department of Sanitation and the Department of Environmental Protection. In each policy area, survey participants were asked to select the most important issue. And of course, for this section, we asked them to select the most important issue as it relates to core infrastructure, city services, and resiliency. Overwhelmingly, as you see here, respondents selected cleanliness and trash collection as the most important issue. We also saw a significant number of responses centering on air quality and pollution, environmental concerns affecting citizens, and protective infrastructure such as seawalls, flood walls, etc. So moving on to the most important issue, I'm going to first focus on the key insights as it relates to cleanliness and trash collection. On the right, you're going to see some of these blue boxes throughout the presentation. These are direct quotes from the public input. You know, feel free to interact with that, read it as I go through the bullet points. So as I mentioned, we saw a lot of responses about the conditions of our streets as it relates to sanitation and how it's impacted the quality of life and health and just overall morale of residents. We also heard about how garbage attracts rodents and contributes to that problem. They indicated, and by they I mean the respondents, they indicated a need for increased frequency of pickup, garbage collection, increased enforcement of sanitation violations such as littering, failing to pick up after their dogs, and increased education. You know, there was mention about, you know, how sanitation does do their job and they do it well. However, the needs of our district kind of require additional support from sanitation. So basically what some respondents said is that, you know, we're not saying you're not doing your job. We're saying that we just need a little bit of extra attention in this area. And then additionally, respondents noted the stark difference between the streets in East Harlem and those in more affluent neighborhoods, pointing to historical disinvestment in our neighborhood and also the need for equity and funding for our district. We saw some mention about the budget presentation that Councilmember Ben Kalos gave a few months back about how the sanitation funding for CB8 was over double the sanitation funding for CB11. We did follow up with them on that, and they provided a response stating that the funding for sanitation that's given for sanitation services is dependent on the population, and that CB8's population is double CB11's population, and that's why, you know, the funding was double. But still, it's those sorts of questions that respondents indicated they want us to ask. And then once again, you know, we saw the issue of equity and environmental justice raised again. This was a theme throughout the input and across policy areas. Specifically as it relates to this section, we saw them talk about the disparate impacts of climate change and other environmental concerns. There was a lot of concerns that they raised. That includes air quality and air quality's impact on respiratory illness. We know that East Harlem has a higher rate of asthma. Extreme heat and flooding. We know that East Harlem is particularly vulnerable to these two climate change impacts. And also the need to invest in infrastructure to mitigate these impacts. Additionally, we saw responses about clogged sewers and catch basins. There are some locations that people pointed out, and that also contributes to the poor street conditions. And then we saw responses about water quality and noise pollution. The responses we received about water quality, we actually received them before the Legionnaires outbreak, and there was, I did wonder if, you know, some of those responses correlated to that outbreak. Yeah, so once again, respondents didn't note East Harlem's heightened vulnerability to poor air quality, flooding, and extreme heat, and the need to invest in infrastructure such as seawalls and flood barriers, proper drainage, green roofs, and also the East River Esplanade, because, you know, that borders the East River. in order to mitigate these impacts. And then there were some more needs related to sanitation services that were indicated in the responses. We saw some people talk about the need for a dual district garage, a state-of-the-art dual district garage that services both the sanitation of community district 10 and 11. They would like to see a facility similar to that one that is on the Lower East Side. It's also a combination facility servicing multiple community districts. We also saw a few responses about the need for public bathrooms to improve some of the sanitation concerns on our major corridors and also protect the dignity of potential users. We'll see this come up again in the later section. And then respondents called for continued support of the city's composting program and expanded support for recycling. They'd like to see recycling stations throughout the district. And they also feel that the expansion of these programs would reduce some of the garbage we see littered throughout the district and overall waste produced by our district. And then finally, there were some responses that indicated a need to improve the city's snow removal process. There was not a lot of elaboration upon the selection of this answer, but there were quite a few selections of regarding snow removal. So now we're going to move on to the next section, the Parks, Cultural, and Other Community Facilities Policy area. This encompasses the work of 2 committees, and it also encompasses the services and programs offered through Parks, through the New York Public Library, Department of Cultural Affairs, DCAS, and Do It. If you're on last night's Economic Development and Culture Committee, you'll have seen a preview to this policy area. But considering the scope of this committee's work, we're just going to focus on parks. So as I mentioned, this policy area covers multiple committees, but still more than half of the respondents, significantly more than half of the respondents selected issues that relate to the work of our committee. Park care and maintenance was the top selected issue. Quality of parks and parks facilities was the second top selected issue. And then the third top selected was a tie between park safety and insufficient park or open space. We also received some responses about park access and let's see, the access to and quality of park programming. But what you'll find in these, what I found through sorting through the responses is all of the responses kind of related to each other, and the different issues that are listed here kind of bled into one another. But just for the sake of honoring the public input, I will talk about the most important issue, which was park care and park maintenance. In these responses, those who filled out the survey just emphasized the importance of parks and open space, specifically, in the last year and a half throughout the pandemic, and also just generally how parks impact residents' health and provide them with a space to exercise, provide them with a space to get some fresh air. And then we also heard about the importance of parks in mitigating climate change impacts and mitigating the urban heat index and some of the other impacts, and also flooding. So that was a key element of the responses. And then, so respondents expressed the need for parks in East Harlem to be cleaned and maintained more frequently. We had responses that, actually called for more city park workers and more gardeners to service the district to help increase the maintenance of our parks. And then we also saw those who selected this issue call for more upgrades, renovations to outdated playgrounds, called for fixing of, the sidewalks around the park and inside the park, and then also called for more garbage cans in these parks. Respondents indicated, so now we're just going to talk about the general needs for parks. We saw a lot of respondents indicate the need for additional park amenities. The types of amenities that they mentioned were varied. We saw a lot of responses about comfort stations. I know that's a huge focus for this committee. We also saw some responses about the need for adult fitness equipment to further the health outcomes for our residents and our adults and our seniors. And then we saw, I put programming in as a park amenity. We saw a lot of responses about the need for programming for youth, for adults too. They want to see, not just like weekly workshops, exercises, classes, but they'd also like to see some concerts, some events in our parks. We saw a call for increased park access. This also, there were also varied responses about what access means. We kind of mentioned this before with Drive Shack. Our residents would like to see better transportation options to the East River Esplanade and Randall's Island, more specifically Randall's Island. But they also mentioned how difficult it is to get to the East River Esplanade and how there aren't many access points, and the access points that there are often, I guess park goers feel like they're not very safe. We saw a lot of responses about hours. We saw some about the hours of our parks. They would like to see the playgrounds open for longer, especially the playgrounds that are connected to schools. But community gardens was a focus of this section. There was notice of how many community gardens there are in our district, but how they're kind of cliquey. How they're not really accessible to, like, the hours aren't very accessible, and then also it seems to respondents that only a select few residents are able to participate in the community garden. And then as it relates to park access, we also saw respondents call for more park space, more open space, stating that, we don't really have enough. And then as it relates to park safety, respondents also feel that the parks that we do have aren't necessarily safe. There was a violent crime that happened in one of our parks over the summer. That was mentioned. And then there was a lot of mention of the parks being used by people who are abusing substances, people who are sleeping in the parks, and just generally creating a sense of a lack of public safety as perceived by our park visitors. We also saw some recommendations for improved park safety. We saw some calls for better lighting. We saw some calls for surveillance cameras and just more park enforcement patrol officers. And then continuing on the needs for parks, respondents indicated a need for additional planting of street trees to help mitigate the impacts of extreme heat and provide shade to our vulnerable residents. They also emphasized the need to maintain the trees that we currently have, pointing to tree beds being littered with garbage, pointing to tree branches that are falling off and posing a risk to our residents, and just generally the inability of or the lack of services available for our street trees, specifically street pruning. Oftentimes residents will submit complaints and they feel like they will go unheard. We also saw some responses, or we saw a lot of responses about the East River Esplanade, both in this section and in the core infrastructure section. They see that respondents did want to see repairs to make it more accessible throughout the entirety of the waterfront. We know now that the district did receive funding for those repairs, but also they see it as a really important factor in protecting the district from climate change and from flooding. So that is something else to consider. And then we saw a few mentions of vacant lots in our district and how some of our respondents would like to see those lots go toward more green space, namely, more parks, more gardens. In other sections and other policy areas that were discussed at our other committees, we also saw calls for those vacant lots to be transformed into affordable housing. So that's also something to keep in mind. So that concludes the results. I would like to ask for feedback from the committee about these results. Specifically, I want to know, did we cover everything? Is there something that you think should be included in our final community needs assessment that hasn't been included, that you didn't hear in this presentation? Should the executive committee consider selecting different issues to prioritize? I can go back to the graphs if you're interested in looking at the issues once more. And then does the committee have any recommendations for resources to consider in the drafting of our statement of district needs? And I'm gonna pull up the participants list now.
Thank you so much, Carly. And just to point out from our visits to the parks over the summer that as we were walking through some parks, we did experience a lot of these issues in person ourselves. So there were parks where we walked by people using drugs openly and homeless people sleeping in the parks. And, I think we have a lot of great assets in the neighborhood, and we have a lot of really complex issues to solve as a community. And our committee has a lot of work to do to help move these community concerns forward and to resolve them together. So thank you for bringing all of these comments to life. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Go ahead, Debbie.
I just want to take a minute to thank Carly for her brain. Really, it's like, the way that this was put together, and I was on another committee, and the formatting and the inclusion of quotes from the community. This is very well done. It definitely, shows the passion in terms of and the work that we have to do moving forward. So I just wanted to say thank you, Carly. I wish that I could think like this and put it on paper, because it does take a skill and a talent, and I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you, Debbie. And that's what I'm here for. So if you ever do want to talk to me about how to move forward, any project or idea you might have, of course, I'm open to that. I would love that, actually. But of course.
The process has evolved over years, right, Debbie and Francis? I
know. Because before, it was so funny. That's what I'm saying this, because before it was like you would get the paper and there would be surprises in the paper that was like, well, where did this come from? So just showing the progression and how the work gets done and accountability is great, because in the past it was like you had to rely on your memory, and all of a sudden somebody's slipping something in, and then not being able to deal with it. So this is absolutely great, and I appreciate it.
Does anyone have any thoughts on whether or not to accept the public input? I personally think at least the first core infrastructure, cleanliness and trash collection, being overwhelmingly the first choice for respondents is evident, and the experience of the neighborhood should be uplifted. I think that the second parks, cultural and other community facilities, calling for park care and maintenance, park safety, et cetera. I think, I feel like we're always the committee with the most asks, but I'm not ashamed of that. So
True.
Does anyone have any thoughts?
Too bad. They got to get over it. I'm wondering, in terms of cultural preservation, where is it? It's that little yellow one right there. Wow, that's interesting. I wonder what that looks like for folks. It's like, but you can't get there until you have the park stabilized. And I get it.
Well, so the thing about cultural, so I think someone wrote that in because there was an other section. If this was talked about more at the land use landmarks and planning committee, there was like, there were a lot of responses for neighborhood preservation. Not that neighborhood preservation and cultural preservation are the same. Yeah. So I think someone wrote it in. I don't think it was an option that like someone could select, but I would actually have to double check that. So maybe I should do that before I say anything definitive.
Go ahead, Diane.
Refresh my memory on this, Carly. How many respondents did we have for this particular portion of the survey?
So the survey itself across the board was 235. Each section was required. I mean, and of course, like some sections were more like people had more thought out answers to some sections than other sections. This was the last one, so I feel like, you know, there weren't like a ton of elaborations on the responses, but you know, we had 235 total responses.
Okay.
Across.
And this, of course, went to everyone who wanted to respond in the community, correct?
Yes, this went to everybody. I can go.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to. The only thing I was going to add was that I think this is a right step it's a right step in the direction we need to head, because as everyone knows on this call, especially those of us who've been on the board, that when we do treatment of district needs, hardly no one shows up for input. So I think it's a beginning, and I add my applause to everybody else as a start for outreach to the community, get better input for the district needs.
Diane, do you agree with the supporting the top responses, or do you think that there's another concern that should be uplifted that's not reflected?
Oh, excuse me.
Cleanliness will always be number one. Yeah, I think this is a great start. This is for year 2021 to 2022. Or is it 2022 to 2020? I get confused now. And I think it's a great start. And hopefully by next year, when you do this again, we'll get more and more. That 200 will grow to 300, 400. But I agree with what has been found thus far.
Go ahead, Debbie.
I'm sorry, I took my time to look at this. What about access to and quality of park programming? Where was that? That was like what?
I think that's the big lighter blue one.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry, yellow.
Because like to Diane's point, you know, maintenance and cleanliness is always going to be an issue. Quality of parks and park facilities, right? The quality of parks and park facilities, and then park care and maintenance, how are they different?
I mean, so that's kind of what I was trying to get at when I first introduced this graph. I think that a lot of our respondents were also a little bit confused about the differences.
Yeah.
A lot of the answers bled into the other answers. Yeah, so I think that especially, so this chart here is not as, you know, there's not like a glaring leader as there is in the other policy area, which is why, and also there are other things taken into consideration. Like we certainly really want to hear the input from the community, and we certainly want to hear that. But there's other things to take into consideration too, like the work, the positions we've taken as a board, or what you've taken as a board, the presentations you've heard here, the reports you've read, the your interactions with your neighbors. You know, there's a lot to take into consideration here, especially when there was a lot of like bleeding of topics in the, so like we had the quantitative data that's listed here, but then we gave people the room to expand upon their answers, and in their expansions they mentioned they mentioned issues that technically fall under other needs. And one theme that we saw throughout the survey responses is that, like, a lot of people didn't understand why we were even siloing these policy areas to begin with. We follow the format of the form that we have to fill out, but there certainly will, based on the public input and based on the conversations we've had at all the committees, I think there needs to be like a disclaimer at the start of the statement of district needs that kind of acknowledges the interconnectedness of all of these issues.
Yeah.
So I mean, that said, like, even we could technically we could, choosing one issue doesn't, something's ringing.
Sorry.
Doesn't preclude us from, talking about all of the other issues. There's certainly a lot of room to expand upon it later on. But even when we make this selection, there's room for us to expand upon our selection. So, everything you say here, like, I'm gonna, write down and make sure it's, included. So
Yeah, because you're absolutely right. It's just that, I did something at my job and asked for goals and objectives, and we got 45, right? But then after we collapsed them and merged them, we ended up getting 10, so that just kind of came out at me.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And yeah, I agree that a lot of these issues are interconnected and should be reflected in our responses. For example, air quality, pollution, and environmental concerns affecting citizens are pretty, similar, in addition to, park space in general. So I think that there's a lot to work with here. I see John Green's hand in the, if you want to go ahead, John.
Good evening, everybody. This is my third committee that I've seen this report. And I know I sound like a broken record, and Carly's probably tired of hearing it, but this was a great job that she did on this. But the thing is that, but budget and district needs has changed a lot in the 3 years that I've been on the committee. And I think the direction that's going is great. And with all the other committees cooperating and giving input, I think this is going to be really great, and it's going to get even better. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, John, and thank you for being on this committee meeting call almost every single time. We really appreciate you being here. I also wanted to invite Russell, Natasha, Jordan, Francis, anyone who we haven't heard from. If you'd like to raise your hand and give your own personal opinion as to how we should move forward as a committee, that would be great. Go ahead, Russell.
I just think that if we have such a diverse opinions, observations, and concerns, that we should take all those in consideration. I'm not one for, there may be overlaps conceptually, but those are the visions what other people see. And if we were to consolidate them, we would also make one of them disappear. Just one. This is real. It was really thought out, and we're getting the opinions of those who responded. Like Ms. Collier said, the next go around, the survey may increase, and we need to have something to measure it against. When the numbers increase, we see how it could expand or even decrease. We have something to compare.
Thank you, Russell. It's nice to hear from you. Natasha, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a really good tool to try to figure out exactly like what people are seeing in the community. And it's good to know that like some of the stuff that like we see, other people are seeing also, and it matches up. It's not really conflicting in any way, if you get what I mean. Like, it's not like we're saying something and then the community saying. I think we're pretty much on the same page for the most part.
Thank you, Natasha. Go ahead, Jordan.
Hey, thank you guys for having me again. I totally agree with everything. This is a really good tool for us to be using. it really does a lot for the community for us to be able to see what everybody thinks and, you know, bring everybody together and make many informed decisions that bring everybody and bring one, you know, consistent whole to everything. So.
Thank you so much, Jordan, and welcome to Jordan and Natasha.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great. All right. Well, it sounds like overarchingly we are in agreement that most of these responses align with our committee's work thus far, and that you know, there's power in both combining and leaving them apart to gain insight about what the community is experiencing. And it's my opinion personally that we should uplift what we hear from the community. And although, you know, and hopefully in the future, you know, we can get more responses, I think that this is a great start, and it would be a shame to, you know, put aside things that the community is asking for. So I'm personally in support of carrying forward, you know, all of these considerations into the budget and statement of district needs discussions, and working through that together next month as we prepare that with the statement of the district needs and budget committee. John, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, actually, when someone said that about not ignoring the issues that were the opinions of a small percentage of people that responded. But also one thing is that some of the issues are going to require like involvement with more than one committee. That's already started. There are committees that are reaching out to others to solve problems, and I look forward and I hope that there will be more, because the thing is that since we are here doing the community's business, I think that by collaborating with everybody possible, we can get things done.
Great point. Cross-committee collaboration is key. And that reminds me that unfortunately, you know, well, one of the responsibilities for the vice chair is to attend the district needs and budget committee. I plan to attend as many as possible and hopefully all of them, but I was hoping to ask if anyone on our Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee would be able to volunteer to help join me in the district needs and budget committee meetings over the next 2 months while Malik is recovering from a surgery. If anyone is interested, please let me know. Go ahead, Debbie.
Whatever you need, I'll help you.
Thank you so much. All right, so Debbie, and between Debbie, myself, and John and Carly, I think we can carry forward our committee's opinions to that committee. And if there are no other comments or suggestions, I think that this has been a great conversation, and I appreciate everyone speaking up about their opinions.
Okay. Oh, I see a raised hand from Ray Cornbell. I'm gonna allow you can go ahead, Ray, and then I'll move forward.
Yeah, I'm this may be for Carly. It may be a little off center, but resiliency in the opening statements was right up front. And when we got down to parks, that was just great. A lot of detail and very focused. I wonder, where does emergency preparedness, where did it end up? And the reason I bring it up is because in this committee, which I've been monitoring for the East Harlem Emergency Preparedness Coalition, we had this tremendous presentation about the discussion of the bathtub versus the coastal, and the number of projects that are going to be coming into East Harlem to solve those kind of problems. And you can see the influence on almost all of the stuff that goes on. So I guess my question is, did emergency preparedness end up anywhere, or is it someplace else, or is it
I would think that would be human service.
part of this committee?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. And then this kind of speaks to, oh, am I frozen or?
No, you're fine.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry, I thought okay. So yeah, this kind of speaks to what we had all mentioned earlier, like what I had mentioned about the interconnectedness of all the issues, how, some respondents didn't understand the silos and, the cross-committee collaboration. Emergency services, you would think or the emergency preparedness, you think it would, go under this section, the resiliency, city services and resiliency, but it actually went under I have to look up the name of the policy area again. I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. The public safety and emergency services. That was one of the policy areas that it fell under. So we work with the Department of City Planning on these annual statement of district needs and budget requests. And they always ask for our feedback about, what we think is missing from their policy areas. And I actually agree that emergency preparedness kind of falls through the cracks in this process. So I think it's like a mix between the core infrastructure, city services and resiliency, and the public safety and emergency services. But it was a selection in that other section, but it kind of makes more sense here. So I completely agree with you. It also has come up at the Public Safety Committee, actually. Jessica Morris, who was on this call earlier, is the vice chair of that committee, and she had raised the issue of emergency preparedness and how it kind of falls into two committees at our board. So you're right on the money when you mentioned that. So thank you for your comment.
Yeah, I agree.
And also thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. And I think from what I understand, the emergency preparedness strategy, at least for coastal and flood resiliency, from what we've seen in presentations, is social resilience, which astonishes me as a preparedness method, because it relies on the community connectivity and the ability for residents to let others know when an emergency is going to happen and to check on them after an emergency, which is not preparedness at all. Thank you for lifting that up. And Ray, if you could say one more time what organization, or you said there was a coalition you were working with?
The East Harlem Emergency Preparedness.
Co-ed.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
No, co-ed is sort of like operational for,
Okay.
The go bags, the doing this stuff. It's,
Right.
Communities at the time of disaster. But then there's another group which we formed a couple of years ago to sort of think about the bigger picture, working with emergency management in the city and that which is called the East Harlem Emergency Preparedness Coalition. And it's been, active for quite a while, but it becomes very apparent when you work for a while. You can work at the operational level with the co-ed and doing all the great things short term. When you come to long-term stuff, you've got to relate to city agencies and other big organizations and state agencies. And so that was why I was asked to sit in on these meetings and see where the link would be to the city agency for East Harlem, which is CB11, Yeah.
Thank you so much. Would you mind dropping your contact information in the chat for me?
Okay, it's really confidential. The HIPAA laws don't allow me to do that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I will drop my contact information in the chat, and if you could contact me, I would love to discuss this further.
Just real quick.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Ray, I know it's you, Ray. And I'm just so happy to even hear your voice, because it's been a number of years since the East Harlem Community Health Committee. And it's, for those that don't know, Ray has been an activist for health and equity for my lifetime. And I'm just so happy to see your name and know that you're still an inspiration to doing the work. Just so it's so nice to even see your name and hear your
Thank
voice.
you. Thank you, Debbie. I'm still whipping the students into shape to
Amazing.
do useful work for a change. Right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you both. And thank you to everyone on the committee. I think we've exhausted it for today. So we'll continue this conversation at the District Needs and Budget Committee and then at our next meeting. Go ahead, Carly, with your very thought through next steps.
No, it's okay. So yeah, this is the last committee that you're going to see this. Well, you're going to see a form of this presentation at both Executive Committee and District Needs Budget Committee. It's not going to be quite as in depth with all the key insights. We have our public hearing on September 30th, next Thursday. So I mentioned the Executive Committee already. The staff is going to draft the Statement of District Needs and of course, send it over to the board to review. And then next month, I just wanted to give you a preview. We're going to be discussing budget requests. So at some point in the next week, I'm going to distribute a budget register that you've received them before, you know what they look like, filled with last year's needs. And the idea is that, you know, what you heard here today and what we've discussed will inform our budget requests. And, you know, I am available to answer any questions you might have about the input that we've received, the budget request, how we go about it. Just, you know, please give me a call. I would love to talk to you about it. And then the full board is going to vote on the final Statement of District Needs and budget requests at the October meeting. And then we will just continue doing the process over and over and over and over and over again. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. You're amazing, and we appreciate you and all the work you've done. All right, it sounds like we're moving on to new business. Please raise your hand if you have any new business. We heard from Jessica Morris and Chris Lawrence earlier today who are looking for collaborators. Their contact information is in the chat. Any old business? We talked a little bit about the inviting everyone to the executive committee meeting. We'll be talking about the M10 garage, so please join if you can. All right, well, let me go to my script here. Okay, I guess we'll proceed to the second roll call.
Okay, Collier.
Yeah.
Elliot?
I'm here.
Present. I hear you, Francis.
Okay, Francis is here. Giordano?
Yeah.
Hume? Johnson? Lee? McCullough? Pena? Quinones?
Present.
Rodriguez?
Present.
Bueller?
Present.
Wiltshire Clement?
Present.
Right?
Here.
Okay, that's all. Thank you all.
All right, if there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:05. Thank you all for being here and look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, Francis.
Bye.
Bye.